Everyone, welcome to eLearnChat, where you always learn something new. I'm Rick Zanotti, and I'm joined today by Harold Muliati. He's going to be running the video switcher, mixer, and co-hosting. Leslie Price could not make it today. And we've got a special guest with us, somebody we've known for a while, who does really cool things. We'll tell you who he is in a moment. Here we go. This show is sponsored by Relate Corporation at www.relate.com, your training and video partner. And we are back, and joining us in that middle, center, absolute position of power, we've got with us Kevin Thorn from NuggetHead Studioz. He is the chief NuggetHead. You know, Kevin, we've been thinking about this prior to the show. And we've never called you in a more familiar way. Shouldn't we call you Nuggy?
Nuggy.
Kevin's a great guy. He's got a great background.
Yeah, Uncle Nuggy.
Uncle Nuggy.
Uncle Nuggy. Everybody's got to have at least one Uncle Nuggy, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Anyway, well, I missed the show last time when you were on. We had a little pet emergency, like we were talking about pre-show, but. So I'm glad you could make it on again, and we could finish, because I heard you hadn't really gotten through everything. There's a lot of stuff they were covering.
Yeah, we barely even got to Legos last time.
We what? Oh, we never got to the Legos. So,
right, yeah, we never did. We stayed right on the comic stuff for a while.
Yeah, and when we were talking the other day about Legos, this is when you were on with Carl Kopp and Deb Thomas. You were talking about being a certified, I guess, Lego, what's the actual title?
Lego Serious Play. So it's certified facilitator in Lego Serious Play methodologies.
I think that is so cool. I didn't know it existed.
One way of saying it.
Yeah, and how did you find out about that?
Well, I've been a lifelong fan of Lego, like most people. And I came across, I got involved in Mindstorm's robotics side of things, the Lego education. And then that spawned to, when I was in my master's program, one of my co-students who was studying his PhD, he owned a local franchise called Bricks for Kids, where he goes to middle schools, after-school program middle schools, and teaches the fundamentals of engineering and different things like that using the Lego Mindstorms kits. So I partnered with him, and I started going to some of those after-school programs with kids, and the more we got to talking about it, we started realizing that they have the younger Lego education for elementary school, and then they have the Bricks for Kids for middle school. And then they have the big Mindstorms competitions for high school, but the high schools that participate, typically it's based on economic, it's all volunteer. So, the cost of Lego, if you ever bought a Lego kit lately, they're not inexpensive.
They're not cheap.
And not everybody can afford them. So the only high schools really participating in these Mindstorm competitions are some of the, higher income neighborhoods. So we got together and we started thinking about how can we bring the Lego Mindstorms and build a curriculum that takes kids from elementary through high school and teaches them all the STEM concepts in engineering and technology and stuff using Lego. So that's kind of a side project, but through that process, I had heard about Lego Serious Play. And then there's an open source version of these methodologies that anybody can go download and then apply those methodologies in your work, whether it's consulting, strategy, project management, Six Sigma. I mean, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. And then you use Lego as the tool as a way to communicate and solve these problems.
That's cool. Now you were in the military. Did the military make use of tools like these?
No. It was no. I can't recall doing anything other than sand tables, doing strategic operation orders using sand tables and little plastic army men, stuff like that. but nothing at this level. And this is based on research. So what really intrigued me, and I started looking into the open source piece, and then that led me to the Association of Master Trainers for Lego Serious Play. And then I started digging a little deeper. Well, the Association for Master Trainers is the only accredited certified board, and it's you can go to training today. It's for like a 2-day, day and a half, 2-day workshop, but you're not certified.
Okay.
If you go through the Association of Master Trainers, it's a 4.5 day event, and then it has 7 application techniques as opposed to only 3 with the open source version. Well, I was thinking, if I'm going to do this and I want to apply this to what I do, then I want to be certified. So I started looking around for classes and things like that, and it took me about 18 months to find a slot that was available. And then I went. It was a couple years ago, and I went, spent the week, and did the class or the course, if you will, and then became certified after that event. And then now it's just trying to apply it. Now is looking at ways in my business, either on the consulting side or in the learning and development industry, where can we use Lego to help solve problems? And one of the things that I've found very valuable, and it's getting a lot of traction, is the process of e-learning. If we think of e-learning or training design, there always seems to be a challenge, especially when there's, and I'm speaking more to the people in you're either a one-person shop where you're responsible for everything from A to Z, or you're on this larger team where there's a risk of miscommunication and different perceptions across the design process and managing expectations with stakeholders. So using Lego to get into rooms, like how can we process improvement? How can we do this as a mitigate those miscommunications and manage those expectations better? Where are the problems? What are the critical agents that are the risks and consequences and all that? And in the end, the idea is to streamline the process, or use Lego as a tool to help streamline your process to be more effective or efficient, if you will.
Now, for all of those who don't know, Kevin is kind of the mastermind of a new conference that's starting in September. Which isn't really a conference per se. It's more of an experiential getaway.
Retreat.
It's the Step Away. It's called the Step Away. And it's a retreat where you actually get to practice all of the things that Kevin's talking about, plus other things. And that's going to be, what date is that? Is September?
Yeah, 23rd through 26th, Monday through Thursday that week.
Yeah, near Orlando.
Yeah, 22nd is a Sunday, so you can come in that night if you want. I mean, we'll be there, but the event doesn't really start till Monday morning.
Yeah, and that's going to be in the Orlando area, and it sounds like a lot of fun. You guys are going to be in a special place where all the rooms are labeled or tagged as different kinds of games, so they have themes to this whole process. It sounds cool.
Yeah, it was about 2 years ago, 18 months ago. I was thinking away, how do we get the Lego out? And of course, so I know the concept, if you think about when you go to a typical industry conference, there's pre-conference workshops, which are typically 1 day, sometimes they're 2 days long. At the end of that day, or those 2 days, you have a lot of theory, you have a lot of new tools, a lot of new techniques, but you've never really had a chance to apply it in your work. Yeah. So you get excited, you get really invigorated, and you go back to your workplace. And he's like, "Well, how do I apply all this stuff when I get back to my work?" And you start, either sometimes you do or you don't. So we're thinking, how do we put something together where people not only come and learn some of those same things, but also stretch it out longer, 3-4 days, and give people actual time to practice and apply what we're teaching, so that by the end of the week you actually have a physical artifact that you created and you get to take home with you, not just all the theory and ideas and tips and tools. So when I found this house, it was just some advertisement that went through Facebook feed, or so, I don't even remember where I first saw it. And I thought, how cool is that? Here's a 15,000 square foot house, giant resort, 15 bedrooms, and every bedroom is themed after a game room, like a traditional game. And then the outside, you can see the pictures you're rolling across there. The billiard pool, so it looks like a pool table, but it's a big pool. The giant bowling ball, soccer darts. Yeah. Just all kinds of fun things outside, but then the inside is just equally as fun. They have a giant life-size chess. There's a big Jumanji sort of theater, giant operation game hanging on the wall. I mean, it's just like the second floor is like a midway arcade. So when I presented it to Carl, and I said, well, let's take your game design workshop, and let's take my visual narrative and storytelling and Lego stuff, and let's mash them together and build a curriculum that works people through game design, visual narrative, design thinking, sort of more of that innovative creativity. And let's get out of all due respect, let's get out of a stuffy ballroom at a hotel somewhere or at a conference center, and let's go someplace where you can be creative and surround yourself in an environment that just doesn't do anything but invite creativity.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So he was all in, and then we invited a little bit later. Then Deborah is also very big in the game design and industry and for learning and development. So the three of us got together, and it's like, okay, let's just put this sort of epic, professional self-development, learn through play event. So, you walk around in shorts and flip-flops, jump in the pool, let's learn, let's play things, let's play games, let's build something, let's create something. So in the end, what our idea or our plan is, we've partnered with a couple of print companies in the game industry where we're going to start with the basics of game design and storytelling and visual narratives and all that. But then throughout the week, you're actually going to design and build your own card deck or card game. And once we get all designed, then part of the registration is we ship that off to these print companies, and then they will mail you back your card deck that you built that week.
That's cool. Wow. That's really cool.
Now, that's the thing. And the other thing is a 4-page comic. So we'll do the same thing with storytelling, visual narratives. And then we have a print company that once we design the story and storyboard it all out, then you'll do sort of the visual design, and then I'll help dress up the artwork, and then we'll ship that off, and then a comic book will get shipped back to your house. So you'll have a card game and a comic book that you created, but you went through the entire process of what it takes to do that. And then hopefully that will inspire people to actually, now they know how to do it if they want to go back and do it in their own workplace.
We've just got Brent Schlenker saying, "Hi, Kevin. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Florida."
Yeah, Brent's going to be there. Yeah,
he will. Good. Hey, Brent.
Brent's coming down.
Hey, Brent.
We've got, as a matter of fact, I just responded to an email just a few minutes before, and one other person has registered. So we got about the house is about half full. Okay. So we're still looking for some folks that want to come join us, and we're limiting it so it's more of an intimate setting. So 20, 25 people tops is we thought was just about enough to manage, at a place like that without, bumping into each other's elbows and getting stepping on each other's toes. And
the funny thing about what you're doing is a lot of people would probably downplay and go, well, that sounds easy. It's not that easy to design games and to make something engaging and something that people want to replay over and over and over again. It takes a lot of effort, and game companies come out with games all the time, of which most of them don't go anywhere, and then they get the big sellers.
There's iteration, there's play testing, prototyping. There's a lot that goes involved in that process. Yeah. But just in general, just in the whole design thinking process itself, if you can get an outline or a table to tell you how to do that, but when you actually have to go through it and you have to manage all those moving pieces, it does take a little bit a higher level of effort to do something.
It does,
like
and the
comic,
creative part of it doesn't just happen. You've got to work at. For example, when somebody comes up to you and says, you're funny. Can you say something funny?
Yeah.
and at that point, what comes out?
You got a break right?
I don't know. And that's what it is. Can you just design up? No, it's an effort. It's discipline.
Yeah. There's an iterative process.
Yeah.
And you always get the feedback and what are the changes coming, things like that. But we have faith and belief that if you come to this event and you go through the entire process in the course of 4 days, it won't be as hard as you might think it is, because a lot of folks, and the feedback I get is, I really want to be innovative, I really want to be creative, but I can't because of all of these other factors.
Yeah.
And some of those factors are there's nothing we can do about it. It just happens to do with your organizational culture and whatever environment you're in. But we believe if you go through the process from start to finish, it might trigger that. It's like, okay, that's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. And while I can't make this thing back in my work, I can at least implement some of these ideas easier than I thought I could. So that's where our goal is, folks, just to inspire people and build confidence. Help folks.
And again, like practice makes perfect. The more you do something, and that's what I like about what you're doing. It's much more kinesthetic. There's a chance you're going to remember it afterwards. Versus, like you said, going to a trade show, you go, you meet the people. Half the people at trade shows are too busy at the other activities, so they don't even remember what happened at the trade show. It's like, we had a trade show? So what I like about what you guys are doing is the hands-on. And it's not just for a half hour or an hour or 3 hours. You're talking 4 days. And there's going to be a lot of retention on that, not to mention sparking of that creativity. And a lot of people, like you also said, they may not be creative naturally, but it's amazing what they can come up with when they're allowed to.
Yeah, no, and I think you just nailed it right there, Rick, that I'm not creative, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. And I would argue everybody can, but it's the environment in which you're in, or the guidance, or you've never had the opportunity to explore that area of yourself. So the idea, the name of the event, Step Away, there's a meaning behind that, in that all of the distractions and noise that we go through in our work, and you have these inspirational moments, but then you get distracted by email or meetings or phone calls or life in general, just kind of get in the way. So Step Away is, let's go someplace where you're in this enormous creative environment, and there's no distractions, and you're relaxed. You can play while you learn, and then that just ties right back into the research of we learn better through play, the play theory. So a lot of what we're putting together is, everything we put together this week is all backed by research and proven evidence that we learn through play, we learn through hands-on, like you said, kinesthetic. When we work with our hands, we tend to learn better. The theory of flow, when you're free to be comfortable, you tend to get more clarity and more focused. So if you can go out on a back patio and grill a burger, and then go jump in the pool, and then come back in and play a game, and then, by the way, let's go over here and do this, and let's kind of work through a problem. Okay, let me go think about that for a minute. Let's go outside and play soccer darts. So it's just that really relaxed, comfortable, creative environment.
Yeah, and that lets people be themselves. They may not even know that that's who they are. But it is amazing what happens when they're allowed, or they allow themselves to actually let go a little bit. It's like you said, step away. I keep having that image of a cop saying, "Step away from the conference room." Step away from that conference room. Not go over there.
Step away from the conference. Step away from that computer.
Yep.
And that's there's another thing too. This is largely analog, which means there's no laptops. Right. You don't have to worry about PowerPoint. You don't have to worry about anything laptop. You can bring your gear if you want, but we're not going to use it. Everything is designed to be hands-on, Post-it notes, Sharpie markers, drawing on pieces, sketching on pieces of paper, playing with Lego. It's all analog, and that's even the more power behind the creative side, that if you shut the lid of your laptop, you can think more clearly because you don't have all of that
Now,
digital distraction.
What have you found in your practice with Lego, for example, as a master instructor? What have you found with companies that you've worked with, how people accept it and what their response is to the particular training you're doing?
Yeah, no, they love it. I haven't had any. I mean, well, first off, let me back up. It does take a little bit more, dare I say, a courageous manager to say, hey, let's try something different.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be aware of everything that we've done up to this point hasn't moved the needle as much as I wanted it to from a strategic point of view. So having the courage to say, okay, let's try something different. And the idea of Lego in itself just communicates play. So if you tell your organization, hey, we're going to spend a day playing with Lego, we got this consultant coming in, right away you've got an enormous sort of sense of interest of, oh, this is not just another day-long workshop that I have to go to. I actually get to go and play while I learn. And then once we do it, once we go through it, the feedback I get, I had no idea it was this powerful. I had no idea this was such a cool way of solving problems. I wish we had known about this a year ago. I mean, those kinds of feedback is what I already know. And we can talk for another 2 hours about it. But until you sit down and go through some of the application techniques as I facilitate it, you have to experience it to really get it.
That sounds great. Now, have you ever yourself built like one of those big Lego things, like like a Congress building or things like that?
Studio.
You did what?
I've got a whole wall of those on the other side of my studio.
That's great. I remember once I went to a mall down in Torrance in the LA area, and they had one of those big Lego just displays, and they had 6 foot by 6 foot tables with this huge Congress building, the Statue of Liberty. I mean, it was amazing. It was absolutely beautiful. I did a lot of Lego when I was a kid.
That's way beyond my skill level. But
it's amazing what they do with that, and it's so realistic.
They really get in it. But no, I keep Lego. I keep Lego at my desk all the time, and if you just take a few pieces, 10, 20 pieces, and just put them in a little dish next to your desk. When you're on a phone call or you're trying to think through a problem, just pick up and start fiddling with them and just start stacking them together. You're not really making a kit like you would buy from the Lego store. This is just random brick that you're just like playing with and putting together. And if you're aware of what's happening in your brain, things will unlock. And you'll get some clarity on some things that you're trying to work through, and you're like, oh, okay, let's do that. So I fiddle with these things all day long when I'm trying to think through things all the time.
A question on the Lego Serious Play. I understand that actually doing it is probably the best way to understand it, but are there video sessions or videos or something like that of good serious play sessions? Just I suspect that for some people that might dissolve some of the initial apprehension, just if they can see how it works and stuff like that.
Well, that's a great question, and nothing that I know of. But at the same time, I'm crafting one of those myself because I've asked that same question, and I went out and looked, and there's nothing really there. Because part of the challenge with my work is I can go meet local companies here around and where I live, because I can go and spend an hour or 2 hours with them and bring some Lego and say, okay, here, think about, your kickoff initial consulting meeting. It's easy to do that locally because I can just drive over to a company's headquarters and do that. But if it was someone like yourself, say, hey, I'm interested in this and bringing this into my company, what can you tell me about it? Well, I can tell you about it all day long, but if I'm not showing you, because each delivery is 100% custom to that that particular problem. So it takes a little bit of time to kind of craft up a custom workshop, whether it's a 2-hour meeting or half a day or a full day or 2-3 days. I mean, there's different ways we can program it together. I've done quite a few more like half-day sessions than I have, full or 2-day sessions.
I think Harold just went up to buy some Lego. Processing,
no, but
right?
Harold, I've been thinking about that a lot, to put together a video series on how it works and things like that.
Sort of a scenario-based thing, perhaps, so it makes sense in the way that it, as you say, it's sort of fitted to each particular problem, right, or particular scenario.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was a little kid, probably about 10 years old, my parents decided, I was born in Argentina, and my parents were from there, but we immigrated when I was 3 years old, and then my dad decided we're going to go back when I was 10. So we went back for 6 months and then came back again. But in those 6 months, it was like horror. And the only thing I really had from home was my Lego set, which I brought with me. And that Lego set was one of the best therapies of my life because I didn't know anybody there. I didn't know any other kids. We didn't live near any other kids. It was like, this is not fun. But the Lego kept me going. It kept my imagination going. I used Lego to create a steering wheel.
Oh, nice.
And so that steering wheel put me into a closet where I made believe I was either driving a train or a bus because they had tons of those down there, and I found them fascinating. That was hours of fun. My parents would go, he's kind of odd. He never comes out of the closet. He's playing with that Lego thing. What the heck is he? Is he okay? Is he normal? What's going on? I was just enthused.
Well, just tap into that now at your adult brain.
Yeah.
And you tap into that memory on what it did for you.
Yeah.
It helped you
survive,
solve a problem,
and solve a problem.
Be clear in your imagination.
Yeah.
And that's the power of the tool. That's the power of Lego in itself. And
it was so simple, and I used it. There was nothing to tell us how to build a steering wheel. I'm just looking at the pieces going, hey. Yeah. And it dawned on me. I even built a thing like this the trains had where I could move a lever to make it look like a subway.
You still have that? I would love to see it.
I don't. I wish I did. That was a long time ago.
I think Rick's going to go buy some Lego now.
Yeah, I've thought about it a couple of times, and I think we did buy some when our daughter was still living with us and growing up, but I think she took it with her. So it's like, you took the Lego. That wasn't yours. That's ours.
It's completely opposite here. When my son moved away, he left all his Lego here, so I just incorporated it into my collection.
Dad said, my Lego now. That's great. It's such a clever idea. When I heard of what you were doing, it got me to think about it and going, that makes so much sense. And it brought me back to my memory of, at 10 years old, Lego saved my brain. I mean, literally.
Yeah, there you go.
From lonely to occupied.
Well, on a more serious note, for the last couple of years, I've been working with the U.S. Army Chaplain Corps, and the mission of the Chaplain Corps, and where they're at, and the gap that they have between the unit level soldier and the chaplains, and some of the challenges that they're going through. So we put together a curriculum. We were invited to put a curriculum together on healthy marriages and healthy relationships. That was kind of the start. And then as we continued on, we started seeing some other challenges, and not just in healthy marriages, but also in the mental health of soldiers in terms of depression, PTSD, and relationships at their unit level, maybe between the squad leader and the individual soldier. So we kind of tweaked it, and about halfway through the program, it was right about the time I became certified. So the lead facilitator, a good friend of mine, I mentioned to him, I said, you know what, I have an idea. Let's implement Lego Serious Play into this curriculum to help these chaplains work through these problems that they're having. He loved the idea. I put a program together that kind of integrated into his curriculum, and then we started using Lego with the U.S. Army Chaplain Corps, and that led us all over the country. We were in Tokyo this past January, and took an extra suitcase of Lego over to Japan, and it was an amazing, powerful, emotional event because it gets into a really deeper thinking using Lego. So when you think of relationships, regardless of if it's between you and your dog, or you and your wife, or you and your coworkers, or you and your boss, or subordinates, there's a relationship all over in our world. And when you start thinking about what are the core of relationships, like betrayal and trust and sacrifice and commitment and things like that. So the core process of Lego Serious Play is to build metaphorical stories or build metaphorical models telling a story. Mm-hmm. So you're not building a kit like we traditionally think of when we think of Lego. We build these little metaphorical models, and then we tell a story of what that model is. So when you start asking deeper questions like build a model on what trust looks like, that gets you at a deeper level of thinking. Yeah. Or build a model on remember a time when you had to sacrifice something for your relationship, whatever that relationship is, and now build a model that represents that and tell us a story on what that was. So you really get into more of a deeper thinking, emotional context when you do that. So and through that process,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking when you were saying, how to define that. I'm picturing in my head when you said trust. It immediately brought up in my head building something that has a heavier foundation, something that is hard to topple over. It's just funny. How do you build a strong building, or something that has a good foundation? Just by talking about the building of it, in my case, I'm sensing, well, yeah, I could do this, I could do that. So you're already creating that. You're getting that creative juice flowing just by the mere thought of it.
Well, for instance, when we think of metaphors, like this green brick, what does the color green represent? And it could mean money. Metaphorically, it could mean envy. And then conversely, a red brick could mean anger. It could be greed. I mean, there's a number of things. So you can use the shapes of Lego and the colors of Lego to help tell your metaphorical story based on how you build your model.
That's clever.
And that's where where you start unlocking sort of this critical thinking level. And then probably the biggest satisfaction I get is these aha moments when they get building. They might think it's silly. There might be somebody in the room who's, this is kind of silly playing with Lego, and then they get through it, and then they go around and they see other people and how they reflect and the stories they're telling, and then now they're like, okay, now I get it. Now I'm into it. Now
wouldn't it be funny
through that process? The folks down at the Department of Defense, the ITSEC conference down in Orlando every year, and it's one of those conferences where I've been wanting to go for years, but it doesn't really fit my work and the work I do. But it's just one of those cool, geeky, simulations and robots and all that really cool tech that the military is using. Well, the E in ITSEC, the E stands for education. So I was approached as, hey, that's one area of the conference that we don't get a lot of submissions for. And what you're doing with the chaplains is really kind of unique and interesting. Would you be willing to write a paper and submit it? So I did, and fortunate and excited, it got accepted. So it'll be published. So I'm getting a paper published on Lego. That's kind of fun to talk about. But cool. Then I'll be going down to Orlando in December and presenting it and talking to the Department of Defense on how we use Lego to help the U.S. Army chaplains. So I'm really excited about that.
And a lot of people don't realize the chaplains have a damn hard job.
Yeah,
it's not an easy job at all, because they're dealing with people at that point who are either depressed, miserable, frustrated, doubting everything in life, and they got to work with them. And it's not easy. I mean, war is not the most sensible thing usually, and when people have been involved in wartime or things that are just very traumatic, it takes a toll on the mind. And the chaplains a lot of times are kind of the in-between psychologists for the Army. it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and you hit it. That's the exact problem that we were brought in to help.
Yeah.
Help
so
with.
it helps the chaplain and it helps their patients, if you will. They're
reactionary, just like you said. They're more dealing with reactionary issues than being proactive. And then so it's kind of closing that gap.
Mm-hmm.
And how can they be more involved and more proactive and catch some of these crisis, if you will, before they become too far. And the chaplains are not psychologists and they're not counselors, chaplains. So a lot of times, their reactionary response to these problems are essentially just referring people out to other specialists because they're not qualified or trained, or that's not their role as a chaplain. So what we're trying to do is help the chaplains, and not that they need help. That's not the point. But to give the chaplains other tools, so that they can move closer to where they're needed the most.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, we are at the end of our time. This is a fascinating conversation with this. We need to come back and talk some more about this because I think like you said, you're touching the iceberg right now, the tip of.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, and we're having a lot of fun with it.
And all I can say is, I've said this to you before. Thanks for your service and your continued service because you're still helping, and that's cool. I think what you're doing is really great for the military and for businesses and everything else you're doing. So good stuff. And if you want to learn more about the Step Away Conference, I think Harold will have it in the show notes a little later today.
Thank you.
And you can go back, look at the show. We've shown the website a couple times, and it's a great thing. Go do it. It's fun. It's the first of too, so you get a chance to be a pioneer in something that's new. And I think it could very well do exceedingly well because of the premise. And boy, do we need that in our society today? A little bit of relax and creative time. That would help.
Well, it is the inaugural event, so everybody who attends this one is definitely going to help with us as we craft the next event that we're going to do.
Yeah, this is cool. So anyway, well, Kevin, again, appreciate you coming on and sharing what you're doing and what the team is doing with the Step Away Conference. I wish you guys the best on this one. I hope it goes really well. I've already got my wife going, can we go next year? I go, maybe. This year we couldn't, but that would be fun. I think it would be fun to just.
Now you're down in the Florida area, right?
Well, what?
Are you in the Florida area?
No, we're in California.
Oh, okay.
No, we're in Camarillo, California. It's Southern California. Yeah, we're in Southern Cal. We're not totally insane yet. We're just partly insane in Southern. Northern's gone. I'm going to get hate mail now, but that's okay. Anyway, we'll see you next time, and good luck. In fact, I'd love to have you guys back on after the show and report back on it.
That's great.
What your experiences were, how it went, and we didn't really want to tell anybody, but Brent's actually working for us as a mole, and I'm just kidding. Sorry, Brent, had to use you.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe we come back in October or November and
would love to do that. I think that'd be great and a good service to the people who couldn't make it. Get them motivated to go next time. So, well, have a good one. And if you're watching the show, you know how to get a hold of Kevin. It'll be down there on our list. We'll have a link to his website as well as the Step Away site. And do keep in touch with these folks. They're good people, every one of them. And I think they're doing great work. So we'll see you guys next week on eLearnChat. Have a good one. Thanks.
Before we go, we have a message from Brent. He says, LOL, use me anytime. We will, Brent.
Hey, Brent, have a good time.
He has no idea yet.
Yeah.
He does not.
Anyway, well, have a good one, everyone. We'll see you next week. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.